Okay, let's go ahead and get started here. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to call the meeting to order for the City of Erie Land Bank for June 16th. And to do that, I would start off by seeking a motion to approve the consent agenda and the minutes from our May 19th meeting.
I move it.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it takes us to finance report. April.
Were you wanting to open it up to citizens' comments first?
You're right, we changed that order last month. Yep, sorry about that. So let's go ahead and open it up for public comment. Anyone here from the public to speak this afternoon? If so, yep, come on up. Thank you.
I bought the property at 1021 German. I'm in the process of rehabbing that. I've had it by code, everything rewired, drywall, all that stuff. 1017 German caught on fire through some homeless people or whatever, and I found out it was going to be demoed. So I put a bid in, and I don't know what else you need as far as that, but what I'd like to do is, whatever the rules are, if I can put grass or if I can put a garage, I'd like to. And then that's it, I guess. I don't know what else you need.
So you are one of the proposals in the agenda today?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, what was your name?
Patrick Laughlin.
Okay. We'll go over those one by one here, and if we have any questions, we'll reach out to you then. Yeah, thank you.
That was easy.
Yeah, thank you. Any other citizens to be heard? No one online? Hearing none, we will move forward and close that. And now we'll move on to the finance report. April?
Thank you. Okay, so first you have the balance sheet. It shows in our checking as of the end of May was $103,270.22. Properties held for sale are still $42,504, bringing total assets to $158,375.14. On the profit and loss, it is showing a negative net income of $7,197.94. We were waiting for April and May's reimbursements at the same time, which totaled just under $87,000, which $50,000 of that was earmarked to be reimbursed to RACE. We did receive that in the beginning of June. And then after that, you have the check detail report, which is all the checks that were dispersed for May. And then the page after that is the budget versus actuals.
Thank you, April. Any questions on financials as they're presented? Mine is just a comment. It looks like we're tracking year to date pretty much along where we should be, plus or minus, so that's good. So April and May are still out there.
We just received, yes, April and May reimbursements.
Okay.
Then we have to reimburse the redevelopment authority for their portion of it. But yeah, we still are tracking pretty close to where we should be right now for about mid-year.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if there are no questions on the finance report, I would ask for a motion to approve the report as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to solicitor's report. Are you going to cover that, Aaron?
Yeah. So I can't remember if Gene was going to make it, but I know how it goes, and sometimes he gets drug into something. So the solicitor's report, first section there, sale of parcels, just kind of a list of parcels that the board has approved the transfer of and that they're currently working through getting taken care of. The issue there on East 22nd Street did have some communication with the individual who is residing within the property, indicating that they would be out by June 15th, but Gene has moved forward with filing the proper paperwork and serving the property and anybody and identifying all occupants as those related to that action. The next section there is quiet title actions, just a numerous amount of quiet title actions on land bank properties to clear the title and allow us to provide, warranty title to property owners and clear all of those issues. Successful development, redevelopment agreements, a couple properties there, the Stefanelli property and the one for Dragonfly Properties, two properties that has successfully been rehabilitated. 2712 East Avenue did close last week, so that property, they're moving forward with the redevelopment of that property. Subdivision of the parcel on East 9th Street, which that one is a redevelopment authority parcel, so that shouldn't be on here. I'll have Gene address that. And then development of 1737 West 6th Street, that's moving forward, so we should be under agreement here shortly here by the end of June. So
East Avenue is closed, West 6th is not closed yet.
not closed yet. There were some language discussions back and forth on the development agreement, just some questions. A lot of it focused around the recapture of the acquisition cost. So I think we got all that cleared away and we've all signed the agreement now.
I have a question about the 723 East 22nd.
Yes.
People are living in there without any water, sewer service. Can't code enforcement shut that down?
There's essentially nothing that nobody can do except for the courts at this point. So code enforcement can post a property uninhabitable, which they probably have done numerous times, but as in past experiences, individuals take up residence in a property without any utilities whatsoever, and there's really nothing
You don't
anybody
have
can
any
do.
ordinances to allow them to clear that up?
Any
Out
occupancy
without?
still has to be achieved through a writ of possession with the sheriff's department and the courts. So, which is the process in which Gene is going through currently, so.
Because it's a health hazard, the way they're operating it, and it
Yeah.
seemed to me we should have the power to, the city should have the power to take people out of situations like that.
Yes, and the city does have that power and ability. It's whether or not who's in control, and if the land bank's being the owner of the property, we have the authorization and the ability to follow that process through.
Yeah, worst case scenario is we're gonna have the sheriff go over and
Yes.
drag people out. I mean, it's
Yeah.
happened before, but
Right, and that was Attorney Sundberg's recommendation, is that given this, at least the identified individuals' past known history of multiple evictions from other landlords that's on the docket, the history is, I'm gonna be out, and then they're not out. So his recommendation was to proceed as we are.
Now, that's a different address. Didn't we have one on Wallace, or
There was a
did
individual.
that
on
one
Wallace.
clear up?
That one is cleared up,
Good.
yes.
any questions on solicitor's update?
And I did have an executive director, just something that was added. It's in the back of the packet. I just printed out the 2025 Fair Awards for land banks and redevelopment authorities across the state of Pennsylvania, just for the board to have. I know I sent you guys an email last Thursday when we were awarded, but just for record, the land bank was awarded a affordable housing creation grant of $2,000 and a structure demolition and site restoration award of $100,000.
Yeah, it's terrific.
And a question on those and congratulations. Hopefully there's some administrative dollars that could, for both the land bank and or redevelopment authority.
Yeah.
And built into the budgets.
Yeah, and I will say for anybody who did go through the summaries on the fair grants, keep in mind that you're allowed to apply for up to $500,000 and $750,000. So numbers identified in those narratives were narratives created for our ask, which was always the maximum we were allowed. So the $200,000 we asked for $750,000, and for the $100,000 site demolition we asked for $500,000. So if it says we are going to demolish 50 structures, that was based off of a $500,000 ask, not $100,000. So those numbers will be modified as we enter agreements.
Any other questions on the executive director's report or solicitor's report? And I'll just echo what Chuck said. Congratulations on that. Terrific to be able to keep things moving along. So Thank you. Hearing none, we will move to unfinished business and new business. And we have developer proposal for 320 Plum Street.
Kyle, did you have the spreadsheet? Oh, shoot. Can you go print it off? Okay. So Cynthia has one copy of all the proposals, and so in the essence of saving paper, we didn't want to print out all the proposals for everybody. If you want to hand it up to, or I can read it and go if you want to go get a couple more copies. So 320 Plum Street, we had two proposals, so Kyle will get the copies for you so you have what I'm looking at. But one from an Alan Berjarski and one from Blue Bone LTD. And so the proposal that Alan Berjarski is ANC Investments. And so as we do with all of these, we do our due diligence on the properties that they identified as owned under their entities across the city of Erie. We did, under Alan's proposal, or ANC Investments, identify some properties that weren't rental registered. We had them reach out to rental registration. They, as of Friday, submitted the payments and revisions to the rental registration to bring all of those up to speed. But we looked into them. So you have two proposals from ANC as $35,000 with an increase up to $51,000. They did disclose it. They provided bank statements. They provided details, a development timeline of 30 to 45 days. Blue Bone, same background check. Everything seemed to check out. Proposed purchase price of $15,000, no increase. A flat $15,000 is the max they're willing to pay for it. Again, they provided all the property disclosure, funding, and work plan is 120 days. So those are the two proposals, one from ANC for $35,000 and one from Blue Bone for $15,000. Both under due diligence checked out. The only question I have and hesitation on ANC is a 30 to 45 day turnaround on that property that is I would say moderately distressed, is fairly aggressive. So, but their offer is more than double the second offer on that property. So,
Have you worked with them before?
ANC, we have, I believe, done some landlord lead hazard control projects with them in the past. But I think that was several years ago. It's been some time. So I had a conversation with Emily and Alan last Thursday as we were trying to prepare this for the board, trying to get those issues cleared up. So,
Thank you, sir.
yeah.
Is it feasible, though, if they go in and really focus, that they could turn that around in a month?
If they,
that does seem really aggressive.
They could. I mean, granted, we're going to have a good 30 to 45 days between approval and closing for them to start to mobilize and be prepared to do it. So, I mean, if they did want to hit the ground running the day after closing, I mean, it would be possible if they had everything lined up to get it done. I mean, there is a substantial amount of wall deterioration and fixture replacement and utility and infrastructure that's going to have to be improved. So.
But you're comfortable with the bank statement, that he's got the means to?
Yeah, with their portfolio of properties, they certainly have the means and access to capital to make the project happen. And with the revisions to our development agreement, I believe we have the teeth and that needed to make sure that the follow-through is completed.
Okay. And he's now completely caught up on rental registration?
Yes, I mean, the registrations are in, fees are paid, inspections will follow, but they are up to date and everything, and have a willingness, according to the rental registration office, to make sure that they're in compliance across the board.
Okay, we'll open it up for discussion on this one. Or I'll kick it off. I guess I'll just say I haven't worked with either one. If they've demonstrated the financial ability to you, then, highest bid is obviously what we go with. I don't know either one of them, so I haven't worked with them. I'll open it up comments, though.
I would agree. It's objectively, it would be the first bidder with the highest bid.
I favor the first offer, the bigger offer.
And I would ask a motion to approve.
I move we approve a sale of 320 Plum Street to Alan Bardelski.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. Motion carries. So we will move on to vacant lot proposals.
All right, so next in your packet, you should have a spreadsheet that identifies all of the proposals received on the 5 properties that are on the agenda. 520 East 5th Street, 715 West 4th Street, both only have 1 proposal on them. Kyle has looked into all of them and agrees that they're good to move forward. The one on 505 East 22nd Street received 2 proposals, both, and this is where we they're both adjoining property owners, one on either side of the property, with $500 offer with different escalation clauses. Again, everything else checks out there. 1017 German, 2 proposals, both from adjacent property owners, one from the church and one from Mr. Laughlin. 500, 1500 with escalation on the Laughlin side. And then 443 East 16th Street, which is 2 proposals, one from Erie's Black Wall Street and the one from Erie County, which Gene's not here. I wish he was. This is the property in which we were kind of waiting on the county's, the attorney from McDonald-Illig who sent these over to Gene to clarify that the county had provided authorization for the county executive to purchase this property. That was one thing we wanted to make sure was there before, we put it in front of the board. So I think that is something I would like to the board to table the proposals on 443 16th Street until Gene is here to provide that clarification to the board. I want to make sure everyone's comfortable and all the questions are answered before we proceed with that offer there. So I'll stop there.
What was the county's plan for that property?
The county's plan for 443 East 16th Street was the development of tiny homeless, supportive housing community on that block adjacent to the prison.
I got a question.
Oh, go ahead, Paul.
Is that why they have those little houses that are sitting on that lot there off of 16th and Parade?
That's I believe what those are intended for, is on those lots.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm just going to I'm sorry.
No,
I was gonna comment.
clarifying question. Is that permitted by zoning as it currently states?
So this may help answer your question. There are still some concerns we're working through with zoning and code, so I'm not ready to approve this at all. So I think the question to us now is, do we make the other party wait?
What is their proposal, Chris?
I'm not ready to approve the county's request.
No, I mean, the other proposal we had. What
I
was
don't
their
know
intent?
what's Erie's Black Wall
So
Street's
Erie's
plan?
Black Wall Street, and I apologize, didn't make it in the agenda. They had provided they want to use it as a garden. So Erie's Black Wall Street has a concerted effort to focus on the 1600 block of Parade Street. They've already purchased a building in the middle of the block on the west side of the road there in the 1600 block of Parade. But they wanted to put in a community garden in that area. Knowing that this was, there was 2 proposals, would put it forward, but, certainly it's a garden, as we did with East Side Grassroots Coalition. I told Kyra Friday, I think it was Friday when Kyle and I spoke with her, that, gardens aren't necessarily our favorite thing to do. It's something that we know we had a lot of in the past that didn't quite succeed, and it was something the board was hesitant on, but it was something that I could put forth that we really wanted to see development over anything. But so it's not It's not a development, it's more of a community garden. And so it's something that, again, if the board wanted to table this property, I could have Kyra or another rep from Erie's Black Wall Street come in and speak on that behalf.
The other question I would have too is if it goes to the county, it's obviously off the tax rolls. If it goes to Erie's Black Wall Street, does it remain on the tax rolls? It would be a small amount because it's a lot.
Yeah.
But it's another thing for us to
But you
consider.
also have to look at the intent and purpose. One is for providing shelter for homeless, and the other is, as Aaron said, we have enough community gardens on the east side. We don't have enough suitable housing.
And let me jump in. So some years ago, I was looking at that whole neighborhood. So it's 16th Street, Sunbury Court, and then 17th Street. There's essentially 3 blocks. It's a very interesting residential neighborhood. So with some resource, it'd be interesting to, and this is maybe not consistent with these 2 proposals, but to look at the neighborhood, provide some resources for the balance of the neighborhood. You could fix a couple, 3 blocks and make it look really nice and safe with maybe some other resources then. So maybe we look at it as a little larger project and invite developers then to, and I know I'm complicating things, but I keep trying to raise the bar as we all try to, and that might be a nice project to look at. So I would encourage members to take a drive by the neighborhood and drive by 16th Street and then Sunbury Court and then 17th Street and take a look. But it struck me as being a neighborhood that without a lot of resource could really come back. And Paul probably knows
That south side in particular was, when I was a kid, that was a very, very nice block.
Chair, I know I'm just a guest here as a liaison, but I would encourage, I guess, echo your sentiment to table this and have Erie Black Wall Street come in and maybe the opportunity to expand on their bigger vision, because I do think it is bigger than maybe what's articulated here with a plan.
And I agree with you, Paul. I mean, if we can help house homeless, we obviously want to do that, but there's just some ongoing questions and concerns with these that we can't move this forward right now. So I agree. I think we ought to table it. I would ask a motion. So what I'd like to do is what we normally do, Aaron, is one at a time instead of in a group. So we'll start with the last property, 443 16th. I ask that I ask a motion to table both requests.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed? So can we go back to 520 East 5th and work our way down one at a time, Aaron?
Yes. Absolutely.
So for 520 East 5th, I don't think there's a whole lot of, there was only one bid. It's pretty straightforward. She checked out in every other way, right?
Yes, yeah. The mother lives next door, so it would be my request to the board would be a motion to agree for the proposal as long as it is combined with the mother's parcel.
Yeah, as long as it's combined with that house.
Yes.
Okay. I'm okay with that. Any other questions or comments? Can I get a motion then to approve Ms. Soto's bid for 520 East 5th?
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
None opposed? 505 East 22nd Street. We do have competing bids, and they're both neighbors.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so you have, these names, I tell you. Gleba is proposal 500, but 1,600 at $100 increments, and the second proposal, $500 up to $750 at $50 increments. So essentially, you're looking at $850 and $750 as the 2 offers, with the top offer as the $850 offer to purchase as a side lot.
Well, I'm showing 1,600 here. What am I missing?
But I guess I look at it, the bottom one would escalate to
Oh, that's
$750. and
that's the
then-
max?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would move we would sell it to the high bidder, Country Gleba,
Yeah, all things being equal. So we have a motion for that. Can we get a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed? Motion
And
carried.
just a comment on when I see parking lots, and particularly, if I remember correctly, in the city of Erie, if you have 4 or more spots, that requires stormwater management. So I think buyers should need to know what could potentially be expected from them going forward then. Because I think is it 4 or more?
Four or more on a single lot.
On a single lot. So it's
if they
hard
are
service,
combined, yeah.
stormwater management, and so on.
If they are combined, that could be an issue.
Correct.
Yep.
So somehow that gets communicated to the buyer so that they don't come up surprised.
Yep. Good point. Thank you. Okay, 715 West 4th.
Yeah, Housing Authority owns a lot next door.
Okay.
So they'll just combine it with their parcel. And
Okay.
I motion we accept their proposal.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed? That takes us to 1017 German.
All right, so yeah, 1017 German, you have the Community Missionary Baptist Church, 1001 German Street, with an offer of $500 to use it as a side lot. They're currently right next door. And then we have Patrick Laughlin, adjacent to property at 1021 German Street, offer of $1,500, again, side lot to a adjoining property, so.
And is this a vacant parcel, or is this because we toured a house a couple years ago, I'm not remembering.
So yes, this was 1017 German. This was the large 4-family, I believe, or
Okay.
3-family dwelling that we toured. We looked to rehabilitate, and then unfortunately last year, some vagrants caught the outside on fire, which completely torched the back of it.
I see.
The front sustained major smoke damage, which would have just completely blew the project out of budget. So it's now demolition.
So it's been demolished, or will
It's
be?
in the it's
Okay.
it's scheduled for demolition currently. So.
Okay.
So the fire did cause damage to the adjoining property at 1021 German. I don't believe you were the owner of it at that time.
No, I bought it, and I didn't want to start new siding and stuff till you folks, so I started on the inside.
So is this next to the church?
It is. So the church sits on the corner of 10th and German. There's a parking lot behind it, which is immediately adjacent to 1017 German. So you have 2 proposals. The church would use it as an addition to their currently owned parcel, or Mr. Laughlin would use it as a combination of his parcel.
Well, I see there's a bid for $1,500, which is the higher of the two.
Sir, I'll just put you on the spot. You're current with your rental registration, all taxes, right? Everything's checked out.
Yes, sir. Just so you know, I'm a real general property manager, so all my investors, which it doesn't matter, I follow the rules. I'm not looking for any problems here.
No, and you can appreciate what we ask, right?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I get it, I live here.
Okay, yep.
So, yeah, I'm sure they checked me out, I told them to. Yeah.
Well, I agree. Chuck, it's the higher bid, plus it would be, remain taxable, tax roll, so. Any other questions or comments?
Well, I would make a motion to accept the higher bid by Patrick Laughlin of $1,500.
I'd second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Can I ask you a question? So, do I pay now, or how does this work? I've never done this.
No, now that the board approves it, we'll put together a sales agreement and we'll send it to you, get your signature, and you'll get a deposit, and we'll get it down to Attorney Sundberg, who will proceed with it at that point.
So
You're good.
Yes.
Good luck.
Okay, and we're holding off on 16th Street, so,
Yes.
okay. Very good. It takes us to number 3, management policy review and approval.
All right, so as part of the 2024 fiscal year audit, there was some things that were identified by the auditing firm, Mayor Dussel, that as the land bank should adopt policies that we don't have already on the books and approve. And it was kind of one of those unique situations with the management agreement with the redevelopment authority. Most of it, we fall under the redevelopment authority, but of course, the operations and land bank do deem that we have policies in place for these things. So April kindly helped put together these policies based upon those audit recommendations. So in front of you is the IT policy, procurement policy, bank statement oversight policy, and Erie Land Bank quarterly journal entry policy. So I don't know where you want to start. We did send the IT policy up to the city's IT department, and Brian King, CIO for the city, did get back to us, let us know that everything looked good. I think there was one thing as far as multi-factor authentication or something like that he says, some of the operations don't have that, but certainly we do have some protections in there as far as that policy. Sum that up pretty well. Okay.
And just to clarify, because sometimes things fall out of my head, the land bank does not have employees. The employees are under a management contract with the redevelopment authority of the city of Erie.
That is correct.
So the policy in terms of employees utilization, these are really redevelopment authority employees that are covered. Just want to clarify that because it shows up under I think the next two. There's probably more specific talking about employees. And the second thing is, would board members ever need to be covered under these policies? Would a board member ever have access or touch the city's IT through Dropbox and/or I don't know? And do we cover board members as much? And I think the answer is yes, but I'm not sure.
So the Dropbox is an external system. The city's or the land bank's website is an external, sits on an external server. So, I mean, outside of the board members who are city employees, board members in general don't touch the city's IT network to access information. Does that answer the question, Mr. Scalise?
Yeah, I think so. It's just, always have to think through the various roles that we're playing and kind of separate those roles out.
Yeah, so I think comparison
so IT,
to
maybe we're okay because board members are not involved.
Right, in comparison to like city council members who have City of Erie logins and such, land bank board members do not have email addresses sitting and residing on the city server.
Raises a good question, though, like what exactly are we passing here, right? Because it's under your umbrella. We hire you to do the work. Maybe we're splitting hairs, but like what?
Yeah, I think I would have to go back to the auditors and ask for clarification onto why they're requesting an IT policy. I mean, I'm sure there's something within GASB that they're looking at as far as a reason for it. I mean, I think they were extremely thorough, April, if you have,
Because we don't, the land bank itself doesn't possess anything, like computers. I mean, we hire it out. So, I mean, we can approve this. I don't know if I guess we can just agree to it, but.
Yeah, without consulting with the auditors, I don't know if I could really provide much more clarification.
Do you need us to move on these then?
No, essentially there wasn't findings, there wasn't anything that required immediate action. These were all just recommendations of the land bank auditor for 2024.
So maybe that answers our question, that we're not actually approving.
Yeah. And remind me, we did not actually have a presentation by the auditors. I know that we have hard copies of the audit report, but they didn't present to the land bank, right?
They did.
No, they weren't able to make it.
So, and I will say that kind of bothers me. I've come from a background where the auditors present to the board, and being bypassed is troublesome, so I would ask that going forward that we always have an exit interview with the auditors going forward, so we can ask these kind of questions.
Yeah, and
We did try to schedule with them, for them to come in and present. I believe their office was closed on the day that we had our meeting.
Yeah, and we could schedule, again, Zoom meeting or something.
Yeah.
If they're doing just a global exit interview, and it also helps establish a rapport with your professionals.
Right. Unfortunately, sometimes scheduling board members is extremely difficult, as Cynthia can reiterate, and the land bank being under the tight time crunch to get a approved audit into the system by the end of the 120 days certainly, it doesn't allow for a lot of time. I definitely, Mr. Scalise, understand your concern, but
and I come
in
from a
an essence
background,
of time,
it was 90 days when I was at Hands.
Yeah.
We would turn around 30 audits a year, but somehow, and we made it work. It just, and our board was there, so I think that if you're a board member, you find a way to participate.
Yeah, I was there 9 years with Chuck, and I understand what he's saying.
Paul knows.
Couldn't you schedule them in for our next regular meeting or the one after that? Or-
Yeah, we can always schedule them to do a presentation to discuss and review. That's part of their contract is to provide guidance to the board in reference to auditing services, so.
It would be helpful, just because even with procurement, new thresholds being proposed, which I agree, those have to stay current, right, with inflation, and, you can't be micromanaging what used to be a large amount, not a large amount, so those have to adjust with the times. I just don't know where these dollar figures came from, they're obviously a recommendation for a certain amount, but.
I think
Yeah,
you
that
can
came
kinda
from
state
the
actually.
most recent
Is it?
Pennsylvania
And they're
Municipal
increased each
Authorities
year.
Act.
I'm
Just
sorry,
from the
Nicole?
city,
What's that?
the procurement.
No, I created these.
Yeah.
But I looked up the figures for the most recent purchase thresholds that we would have to be using right now, and then this policy would be updated or reviewed for potential update yearly.
Yeah, I see that. Thank you. I see it. Okay.
What did you say where'd you pull this from, the municipal, what, I'm sorry.
It's the Pennsylvania Municipal Authorities Act.
Okay, thank you.
It's up on, do you have a copy of this? It's
Yes.
that second section right there that says legal authority.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Do you have any questions on any of these policy recommendations? I think what we can do is take them back with us and read up on it a little bit more. If we do have questions, we can always bring them next month.
Yeah, we'll request and schedule with the auditors to provide kind of an overview of their
Yeah.
findings.
I look at it as an opportunity to learn on someone else's dime, because we paid them X, so let's learn as much as we can.
Okay.
Yes, have they seen these policies? Some of these are financial controls.
No, those were not necessarily to be reviewed and approved by the auditors. They had just given us guidance that they wanted these policies in place. So then we created these internally to present to the board for your review and approval.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Then let's go ahead and move on then to number 4, development proposal for 221 Locust Street. This has been hanging out there for a little while, but because we wanted to try to really put this to its highest and best use, so I've got a couple of thoughts here. Aaron, do you want to give us any updates you have?
Yeah, so the 3 proposals in front of you, they're, as Chris said, I think we've worked through this and we've gone back and forth, and so I think these are the three best proposals that we have. Certainly, there's some stuff that is missing, especially, when you look at Rogers, no development timeline, but essentially, I feel the board needs to move on these. We can work through negotiating timelines and stuff like that as we work to go through that development proposal. But again, to our conversation before, certainly two private individuals put in proposals to construct homes on what will be two lots divided out of the one. So, that's my 2 cents.
So the good news here is that when we split the parcels, everybody bid again, which we didn't know last month, so.
Yeah.
Yep, and I agree with what you're saying. We could examine this and over-examine it and, end up throwing away good, trying to chase perfect. I think we've got strong buyers, stronger than what we used to see apply for properties. So I would like to, after 3 months, give them a yay or nay. I look at this, I always think we should be trying to attract private sector investment first. And if that's not possible, then look to other means. And that's why I'm leaning towards approving one lot for Mr. Rogers and one for Ms. Grammel. Not only did they have the highest bids, highest offers, but I believe they're both qualified financially, they're both motivated, and if we can attract two brand-new constructions from the private sector, I believe Habitat's got far more flexibility to locate in other areas of the city, whereas these other two buyers want this specific area. So we would end up losing them, and it's not a knock on what Habitat does, but I know they've got more flexibility. So I'm leaning towards approving one for Mr. Rogers and one for Ms. Grammel.
I would move that we sell one lot to Mary Beth Grammel for $15,000 and one to Douglas Rogers II for $10,000.
One note, and maybe to amend the motion, in that Mrs. Grammel's offer was for both lots to split and build, so.
Yeah, she'll have to agree to what we,
Yeah.
The subdivision.
Right.
And Habitat hopefully would remain as a backup offer. But I agree with what we did last month, splitting this in two, opportunity to have two homes built instead of one, and also reducing the risk of, if one developer doesn't follow through, we can still possibly get one house built. So we're not putting it all on the shoulders of one developer. But I think that would be our offer. It would be up to Ms. Grammel to counter that or to say no. But I'd like to sell one to Mr. Rogers and one to Ms. Grammel.
I'd like to make that motion, so moved.
We have a second. All in favor? Are there any other comments or questions? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Takes us to other business. Any other comments?
I have no other business.
I have a question, if I may, and I get my meetings mixed up. The lot on West 6th Street, is that redevelopment authority or is that land bank?
1737 is the land bank.
Land bank, so it's our lot?
Yes.
Any activity on that since we last?
Yeah, we had to work through the development agreement on that property with the buyer's attorney, clarify some language within that. Those issues have been resolved, and we should be moving to closing here before the end of the month.
Okay, right. The for sale sign's still out there, so.
Oh,
I'm glad you brought that back up again. Maybe we could get it mowed once more. It hasn't closed yet. We'll see what the timing is on that, but I'm asking our code enforcement officials to expect others to do that, so if we could.
yeah, we have a contract with a lawn care provider, and so new this year, and, you know, we were hoping, you know, we're working through some of the kinks with that.
It's
so
not
we'll
terrible,
get 'em
but
out there.
it needs it.
Yeah.
And if it's going to close end of the month, if we just hit it one more time, and then the new buyer can maybe take over.
I have a question and a report. What is the status of the 2321 Cameron? Does the buyer have a financing lined up?
As a conversation with the realtor last week, that we are good to go. We should close this week, I believe Friday or Monday is what they're at. They've had the inspections have been performed, and everything, as far as he said, is good to go.
Good. And, yeah, just a report from my own street on Mohawk in the Frontier Division. Across the street from me, a house went up for sale, and it sold for $168 a foot, which is basically the problem we keep running into in the city, that our values are a half or less what replacement cost is. Now, that's a story and a half house. It sold for around $375,000, $168 a foot. But further down the street, there was a ranch of 1,200 feet. It sold for $439,000, which would be $353 a square foot, which is right at replacement. So I just think, as we have these vacant lots and such, that we ought to consider at some point that if we ever are going to be constructing something, that there's just a demand for ranches. The city is short on ranches to begin with, since so much of it was built 100 years ago. But I just think that's a dramatic difference in value. On the same street, a ranch home went for twice the amount on a square footage. And that's what I think they're selling out in Summit and such. They typically call them patio homes and such. There's just a lot of demand for people my age to have single floor living, and it's nice to see this sale, which hopefully helps to support our contractor at 6th and Vermont, who is looking to sell for a similar price. So I thought that was good news.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, we discussed that, I think it was 2 meetings ago, the proposal for West 6th, and that's, you know, that's the direction that most folks are moving towards, smaller, one-story, and that's the reality of it. It really doesn't pencil out to try to build a 3,000 square foot home anymore. You can't afford to do it, and most people don't want it. Families are smaller. So I think, you know, it was a great design, fits that lot really well, and we'll probably end up seeing more of those.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Yeah, I will
the
say,
direction we're going in.
yeah, to Sumner, to your point, that's something as a board, we're going to have a discussion, because with the $200,000 from FAIR to subsidize affordable housing development, we'll have to decide how we want to structure that and position that to be a best fit. And so I'll also share an article that I read, you know, how we've gotten away, to Chris's point, as far as starter homes and homes that could be added on to. And so there's certainly some of those communities across the city of Erie, and I think that's kind of the position we'll go through, but we'll have more conversations about that.
Yeah, we should look at how that can tie into what we rolled out 2 or 3 months ago, with the reimbursing the cost, the purchase of the lot. LERTA was already on the books, but then the potential for 0% financing too, and how it can tie in with that FAIR funding. Because every little piece, you need all of these to tilt the scale. So, yeah, hopefully we can pursue that more too. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I believe we are able to adjourn. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.